Materials are at the core of Marvelous Designer. They simply define how the model is going to look in the end. Before we move into details about the actual physical properties of materials, I would like to talk a little bit about the property editor and point out a few things that might be of use and some importance. So a couple of things to note here. There are a few ways that we can assign the materials. One of them would be to go into 2D view, right click on the garment, and there is an option to assign new fabric. If we click that, a new fabric is created and is automatically assigned to the selected garments. Another way to do the same procedure is simply move the fabric on top of the garments, and if we have several garments selected, the fabric is going to be applied to all of them. The same procedure is done more efficiently and quickly by pressing this little button right here. If we click that, the fabric is assigned to the selected garments. When it comes to fabric itself, there are a few things I want to point out. First is the ability to save the fabric, and this is a useful way to create a custom library when you've changed some details inside of presets and you like the end result. In such a case, we can change the name, we can classify the fabric, we can classify it by content and other things. And when we press save, we get to choose whether we want to save it as a texture image only, which means that if there was some kind of texture assigned to the fabric, the snapshot or the thumbnail will have this texture when you select it. If you want to have a custom image, we can choose that and apply a custom image. And the way this works is by going into library on the left. If we click here and if we add a folder where we saved our fabric, if we go inside, as you can see, I have two fabrics here. The first one was created using no image and no texture, and this is how it looks, and there's no classification, there's no content, and nothing like that. But the second one is the same. I didn't apply any texture, but I saved it with a custom image. And as you can see, this is quite useful. This presentation is very useful, actually. Like I said, if you modified some presets and you really liked how it looked, it might be something that is unique and you would like to use it again and again. You can simply take a screenshot of how it looks and save it and apply it as a thumbnail for your fabric. In the property editor and the material sign in the material section, we have 3 tabs, and those correlate to the surfaces of the garments. So it's front, back, and the side. And the thing about this feature is that we can customize how the garments look inside of the program. So if I go into back, and by default this is ticked on, it means that the back of this fabric is going to be exactly the same as the front. But if I untick this, I get to choose all those options to customize how the garments look. So if I go into back and I choose a different color, and I do the same to the side, I will untick that and I will choose a random color. As you can see, nothing really happens, and the reason for it is that inside of the viewing options, what I have is I have a monochrome surface. I usually, when I work, I don't really want any additional color, any shadows, any textures to be visible, because to me this hides the it hides the form, and the form to me is the most important thing when I work. But if this is something for presentation, if you want to get closer to the final look when you have textures assigned and all of those things, those customizations come into play. And so if we want to preview everything that we've just changed in the back and the side of the garment, we simply need to change the viewing mode. And in this case, I will choose a thick texture surface. And as you can see, not only did the garment become thicker, there are also 3 different colors now. This is the back in bluish, and this is the side in red. To not get confused, this is not an additional garment inside of this hood, inside of the tracksuit. This is simple illusion that the program creates, so we can distinguish between the surfaces. And textured view without thickness looks like this. We still get to see the color, but we don't have the side trim.
If you enjoy this content or find it useful, please consider supporting me by buying me a cup of coffee via the link in the description.
A few other things to talk about is the texture, normal map, reflection, and roughness inside of Property Editor. If you've ever used a 3D program, this is going to be familiar to you. But if not, I'm going to quickly go through those things and explain a few properties that they have. So the texture is a very simple procedure. We simply choose a tileable image, and we get to see how the surface looks with the texture. Under the texture, if we have the image, we can see there's a new section called desaturation, and if we tick that, the image changes and we get to have a few sliders. The first one is called shadow intensity and the second one is shadow brightness. This is some kind of form of levels if you use Photoshop, and this is just overall brightness. So if I change shadow intensity, it makes the color of the texture more intense, and if I change the shadow brightness, this makes the overall image brighter, but because I have the shadow intensity, it kind of mixes those two together. Next is the normal map, and it's again, it's a very simple thing. I'm going to use a normal map from one of my materials that I've created for procedural fabric pack. So if I choose this normal map, as you can see, there's a weave now on the model, and if this is something that you want to use for presentation's sake, this could be a great feature. And if you have something like this, if the size doesn't really match what you have in mind and doesn't match what really happens in real world, there's an option to change and modify those things. It's under transformation. So if we had texture map assigned and if we have normal map assigned, we can go into transformation, and in here, because I have only texture in the normal map, I go in here, and as you can see, there are a few things to do. So angle, we'll change the angle of the texture. Width and height is self-explanatory, and if we tick this will lock the aspect ratio, and if we want to change the fabric to some more sensible size, it will do it automatically on the width and the height, since we locked the ratio. And this is more or less how the fabric is going to look when you assign the texture in your rendering program. And the last thing is the reflection, and in here we have roughness, and reflection intensity is it basically defines the the shine of the material. If I change this, you can see a few things happen, but the reason why nothing drastic happens because my fabric type is set to matte. So if I change it to shiny, there's a bigger difference now. And if you do have a map for roughness, just like with texture normal map, we can actually change that. And inside of roughness, there's another slider. This is actually the slider that defines the shine and reflection intensities, defines the amount of light that's being reflected. So those two sliders can create some interesting results. But again, if you don't want to use any sliders and instead you have a map that you've created in your image editing program, you can change that by simply switching to map. And now we have it's not exactly the same settings as a normal texture, but we do have an option to choose the map, and then we get to change the intensity of the map. If you want to use not roughness but instead glossiness, we can simply invert the map, or if the map was for some reason inverted in the first place, we can always use this little box in here. And Marvelous Designer does support PNGs, and so if you have some kind of lacing, if you have some kind of pattern that has transparency, that has empty space, and you want to make sure that when you create the end product, if it's something for, let's say, video games, you can assign this map in here inside of Marvelous Designer to preview it quickly and modify the pattern, maybe change the material a little bit. And to assign this kind of texture, we simply need to either go inside in here and assign the texture that has alpha channel, or we can simply drag and drop it from any folder on our system like that. If I let go of the mouse on my model, I get to choose which map is this. Is it going to be a texture, or is it going to be a normal map, or if it's going to be roughness map. And in this case, I want it to be texture. So if I click here, the garments now have transparency. The lacing stays solid, but everything that was transparent in the image is transparent on the model as well.